But why do visuals work? Why should you believe me? Well, our brains are always trying to latch onto concepts, and they find it much easier to latch onto concepts with pictures than text. In fact, they process images 60,000 times faster than text. We process, the brain, let me get this right, 90% of the information that comes to the brain is visual information, and 60% of the brain is used for visual processing. And on an event like today, 3 days after this, you'll remember 10% of what you heard, 35% of what you've seen, but 65% of what you've seen and heard when it's combined. And I think a story like the one that I've told you that has quite emotion, I believe it's higher than that. And then the stats are all different wherever you look, but 65 to 83% of us are visual learners. We prefer to learn through the use of visuals. So let me prove it to you. So think of what is a crane? Yeah. Does everyone have an image of a crane in their head? Yeah. Does it look like this? Someone has it, yeah. What about this? Yeah. This? And how about this? So a lot of people think this one, but it's good. There's a lot of variety in this audience. But as you can see, it really gets rid of ambiguity and creates clarity. It also holds a ton of information. So you can see this yellow crane. It's used for building. We know exactly what we're talking about. We're all on the same page, and we can continue the conversation. Yeah, it makes the intangible tangible. So let's try that again. Think of a pair of jeans. Does it look like this? You get used to my cheesy humour as we go on. So how did this come about? How do we end up being visual processing machines? Well, 100,000 years ago, we would tell stories around a campfire, well, a fire, probably not called a campfire then. About 40,000 years ago, we started, drawing on cave walls, and I believe, that's only what we know. I'm sure from the indigenous people, it went for a longer time than that. 5,000 years ago, we turned those pictures into language, and then only 500 years ago did we start to have our first books. 300 years ago, the Renaissance, which they really valued visual learning then. And about 50 years ago, we had the first printers, which enabled us to create books. So for about 0.1% of our evolution has been when we've had text. We've been telling stories and using visuals for much longer than that. So who here thinks they're a visual communicator, visual storyteller? Well, I promise that you are if you've ever used these. Or used these, memes, or use any one of these platforms, yeah? And on these platforms, we know that visuals and video are a lot more effective.